Hi, my name is Frederico Simões. I'm a Med4 graduated. I'm finishing my PhD working with integration of LiDAR into mixed forest growth and yield models. Before I start my talk, I would like to show you some pictures. This, believe it or not, was a phone. And nowadays, you can have a phone like this. And this, also, not so long time ago, was how the cars looks like. And nowadays, you can have concept car like this. And this is how the forest was measured a long time ago. And this is how forest is measured nowadays. So why? Why you continue like that? Does the knowledge we need from the forest is not improving? Do we need to add more information to the researchers? Today I will talk about mixed forest, LiDAR data, modeling, decision support system. And why mixed forest is so important? As we know, there's many papers that talk about the resilience of mixed forest to climate change, to fire risk, increase of biodiversity, ecosystem service, provide better ecosystem service, and also related to economic, because it produces more, the risk of losing the whole forest is less, and also policy has some improvements. And the last point, it's interesting to me because we can have a significant cover area of mixed forest. And this can, in the literature review, we can say between 19 and 68. And why such a big difference? This mainly it's due to the classification of mixed forest. So for this work, I'm stick on this mixed forest stand comprise at least two coexistent three species sharing common resource, light, nutrients, water, and at any development stage. Okay, so this is mixed forest. We have two examples of mixed forest here, but they're not the same. So how can we distinguish this? How can we characterize this mixed forest? Unlikely monoculture, even age forest stand, where we can add species, site index, age, and we pretty much can understand what will happen with this forest in the future. Mixed forest, it's not like that. We need much more data. We need more, we need to understand that the distribution, the kind of species that is mixed in, the way that this mixture is happening on the forest. So do you think it's still enough? Just go there with traditional methods and collecting this data? Or should we add some more precise data? Well, LiDAR can be a solution, but it's definitely not the only solution. And for sure, it's not an easy solution. Why? We have different platforms. We have data from the satellites. We have data from terrestrial laser scan, from the airplane. And this kind of data, they're all different. They're not the same. The point cloud is different. The way you process these point clouds are also different. And the results, the variables you extract is also different according to each kind of data. Okay, so this is in the right. It's two different point clouds. It seems to be the same one, but it's completely different the way you process this data. And one is from the handheld, another one is from the drone. So in my first chapter of my PhD, I decided to understand better how the handheld laser scan worked within a mixed forest. So I combined different ways of scanning, different ways of processing the data, and also using an automatic way to process and extract this data so everybody can reproduce and do the same thing. For DBH and trip position, pretty good. For height, I had some problems. Then I combined the data from the ALS, from the airplane, to see what happens with my height. And for Pinus, it was a straight line. So it means that my handheld has a high correlation with the heights with the ALS. But for Quercus, I had some problems. The scan was done in a leaf-off condition. And due to the really low amount of points, some trees was not able to identify. So this come out with my next question. I decide to scan with leaf on and leaf off and see if there's any difference. Pretty much, there's no difference between the season. You can scan with the handheld at any stage of any season. My third chapter, I want to go a bit more complicated. I don't know why. We scanned some marteloscope in Portugal. It's a really difficult area with dominant trees, bifurcated trees, turtles. The slope was also really steep terrain. And here I tried to combine drone data with the handheld and see if I have an improvement. So I flew 4 different heights with the drone to see which one was better. And I merged this data with the handheld and processed this data separately and see which one the result was better. For the height of the drone, there is no difference for the way I process the data, so I could fly higher and get the same result as flying low. And this means more productivity. But for the handheld, I had some problems due to the code, the algorithm to classify and segment the trees. This kind of vegetation was not good for classification, so the result was really poor. And for LiDAR data, as I've been saying, we have different ways to process this data. For example, for the drone, we can, with a low density, usually use a Basel area approach. If you have a high density point cloud, you can go for a single tree approach. What is the difference? The Basel area approach, you take your point cloud, make a grid, and out of this grid, you extract some variables. And with these variables, you make a model to predict whatever you want. And you can have dBA volume, many things once you make this model. And then you extrapolate it for the whole area. Or single tree approach, you have your dense point cloud, you do the segmentation of each tree, and the classification and the segmentation. The problem here is because you have billions of points, and you have to distinguish which point belongs to each tree, and this is the most challenging part. But there's a few algorithms that is doing automatically already. And for those who's come next, not for me, it's to add this information to decision support system. As Felipe said yesterday, we can tackle the whole problem, and we need to understand the whole problem and not just a single piece of the problem. Otherwise, we solve this problem and we create a new problem. So once with the LiDAR, we can have, for example, Spain, the whole country is scanned for the 3rd time now. We can have a better information for decision makers, for policymakers, and landowners. And with this, the future forest can be a better forest. This project was supported by Skill for Action and Single Tree. Thank you.